Martín Di Nenno and Fede Chingotto are the best defenders in the world. It is practically impossible to win a point against them. And they are two of the most intelligent players of all, making it easy for their partners to win a lot of points. Do you wanna know how the Nenno and Chingotto's racket perform? Which one is better? Which one has more control? Hello all players, I'm Pablo and I welcome you to a new 4Set. I present you the Bullpadel Neuron by Fede Chingotto and the Bullpadel Vertex 4 Comfort by Martín Di Nenno. The Neuron by Chingotto is a completely new racket, while the Nenno's Vertex Comfort evolves from respect to last year's, as we will see later. Because first of all, let's take a look at the technical specifications of both rackets. The Neuron is a racket with a hybrid shape and a 13 cm grip, while the Vertex Comfort has a diamond shape with a 12.5 cm grip. On the Neuron side, on the racket itself, we find that it can weigh between 360 and 380 grams. However, my Neuron weighs 355 grams with the EXA core on, so it can be considered a faulty racket, although I like the lightweight. And the bad news is that this is not gonna be an individual problem, because the Vertex Comfort has to weigh between 360 and 375 grams as indicated on the racket, and mine weighs 362. You all know that I like light rackets, but this is a double manufacturing error. Anyways, the balance of the Neuron is very low with only 26 centimeters, while in the Vertex Comfort it is higher with 27.2. There are also some differences in the fibers used. The Neuron uses a 3K carbon with a trick. Because if we think about Chingotto's Neuron, but the real one, it doesn't use this carbon. El ratón de la barrilla changed the carbon and plays with a 12K, the same that he once used in the Vertex last year. The 12K carbon is stiffer than the 3K, so I understand that it will be the main reason for that change. In the end, when a pro player is so used to a configuration, it is so difficult to make him change. And especially in the middle of the season, which is when Bullpadel released Fede's new racket. These changes in pro players' racket are common, but in my opinion, they are not fair to the consumer. Anyway, the good news is you just need to subscribe to the channel to be able to do a giveaway with Padel Market about the Neuron of Chingotto and the Vertex Comfort by Martín Di Nenno. The Vertex Comfort uses a mix between carbon fiber and fiberglass that give us a racket with an intermediate touch. Here, I don't know if Martín uses other types of fibers, but I wouldn't be surprised because in Bullpadel, all usually make small modifications to the rackets, and maybe this one is too soft for Martín. Both rackets use the multi-EVA rubber, a dual density rubber. And in this case, the external part is of a higher density than the internal one. Chingotto's racket doesn't incorporate any type of rough and has a matte finish that is something that will affect us, as we will see later. While the Nennos have a sandy finish, which honestly is one of the best sandy roughs I've seen. Although it is true that it is a rough that at the beginning is very effective, but with little use it ends up getting lost. Finally, the Neuron by Chingotto is more expensive with a price of 270 euros, while the Vertex Comfort by Martín Di Nenno costs 220. But those are prices without the 10% discount that you can get with the code 4Set in Padel Market in case you want to save money and support the channel. Before moving on to the on-court test, we have to talk a little about the technologies of each racket. Especially the Neuron, which is completely new. It is true that it is a mold very similar to the Vertex, which was the racket that Fede used before. The biggest innovation is what Bullpadel calls wave system, which are some torsions on the frame of the racket. According to the brand, these twists reduce vibrations and reduce the bending of the racket at the moment of the hit. And honestly, I'm not a scientist and neither the brand provides any kind of study to support it, but it is true that the racket doesn't vibrate in hand. Another feature of the Neuron is the hole pattern, because I don't remember having seen it in Bullpadel before. But there is something that worries me, and it is the distance of the upper holes. I think they are too close to the tubular and that can sometimes cause breaks. But beyond that, this combination of holes is special. As there is more distance between holes, the stiffness increases and the sweet spot is reduced. But no one should be scared, because as we will see later, it is not a very hard racket, but it does have a dry feel that I particularly love. I don't know if the word dry is clear in this sense, but I don't know how to define it better. This racket comes standard with the Hexacore, which Fede removed it and I don't love it either. But let's talk now about the Nenno Vertex Comfort. This racket belongs to the Vertex range, one of the best-selling rackets in history. This year it shares the mold with 3 other versions, the Vertex 04 by Tello, the Vertex 04 Hybrid and the Vertex 04W by Delphi Brea. In fact, the Nenno's and Delphi's racket are the same but with different weights, between 5 and 50 grams of difference. Compared to the normal Vertex 04, the one of Juan Tello, the comfort changes by using carbon fiber and fiberglass at the same time and the weight 5 grams less. With these slight differences, we will have a wider sweet spot but still not crazy. Another change in the Nenno's racket is the air channel in the head of the racket, which is now almost twice as big as the last year. This should, in theory, improve the racket's agility. But it is enough talking about the theory of these 2 rackets. It's time to test them on the court, and we have to start with the defense. Because if someone has in mind one of these 2 rackets, it is probably because of the defense and the control. These rackets are not designed to be super powerful, but to be comfortable and to be able to dominate the game. And I have to admit one thing. The Neuron is incredibly good in defense, especially for one reason: the touch. It has a dry touch that respects very well the speed you transmit to the ball. Honestly, I felt very comfortable from the very first moment. But be careful, because the sweet spot of this racket is not very large, and if you don't hit it well, it can penalize you. But really, if you hit well, you feel that all your balls go perfect. And agility has a lot to do with all this. Remember that I have tested a faulty model of 355 grams and 26 centimeters of balance, or what is the same, a super agile racket. And at no time I have felt any kind of problem with moving the racket, something super important in defense. On the other hand, the Nenno's Vertex moves worse than the Neuron, and the feelings in defense are worse. Even so, they are still good and it is a very comfortable racket. Don't forget that the name of this racket is Vertex 04 Comfort. But nevertheless, the feeling when hitting is a softer touch, so it is more out of control. I wondered before trying both rackets with which of them I was going to feel more comfortable with the lob. And in that aspect, the Neuron wins again. And now it's time to move on to the attack. It's time to talk about the volleys. And once we get to the net, the Neuron becomes less effective. The lightweight and that dry touch don't allow the ball to get so much speed easily. While here the Vertex Comfort is better, because the ball comes out with more speed with less effort. It is true that both of them are not incredibly good at volleys, but the Vertex is the winner. So what about the bandejas and víboras? Here the sandy rough of the Vertex Comfort is key. I said it before and it's true, it's very obvious when hitting the ball. Actually, listen to the sound of the Vertex and its roughness. And now listen to how the Neuron sounds. Sure, the rough of the Vertex will only last about 1 month, something like that, but while it lasts, it's very effective. While the Neuron being matte and not having any roughness, you don't get as much effect. In the same way, with so little weight and so low balance, it is not easy to be aggressive with the Neuron. Also, in the Vibra, it responds better because you can move it more easily. But I have here a big question: how do both rackets behave in the smash? Well, none of the rackets are super smash oriented, but keep in mind one thing: how many smashes do you do in a match? Sometimes we focus too much on power on the smash when we only do 5 to 8 smashes per match. So sometimes it's much better to be comfortable on defense than to have a lot of power. But if I have to give a winner in the smash, it would be the Vertex Comfort. That extra weight and a higher balance give it a higher power. But who is each racket for? If you are looking for a racket with a dry touch that respects your shots to the maximum, low balance, and you don't mind sacrificing power for maximum control, the Neuron is your racket. If on the other hand you are looking for a racket with an intermediate touch, with sandy rough, medium-high balance, and with better sensation in defense than in attack, the Vertex Comfort is your racket. So which racket would you like to know more about? Thank you very much for watching the video, don't forget to subscribe and see you in the next one. Ciao!